Well, thank you all for joining. So my name's Alex Wang with Rainmaker Real Estate, and I'm down here in Los Altos. And why don't we start off with Donnie?
I'm Donnie Pingaro. My brand is Ocean Insiders. I'm based in Southeast Florida, and my primary market is Fisher Island.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Slate. I'm based out of Palm Springs, and my company is Elevate Palm Springs.
I'm Katie Moe, one of the co-founders with Arrive Real Estate Group, located in the East Bay. I'm primarily in Pleasanton.
And I'm Jen Larson, the other half of Arrive Real Estate Group, and I'm more Danville Alamo area.
So my name is Rama. I'm the founder of Asante Realty, and I'm based out of primarily San Ramon and Danville.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Balog. I'm the founder of Bay Real Estate Group, and our primary market is San Francisco.
I'm Gina Piper, founder of Elation Real Estate in the Tri-Valley. Our office is located in Pleasanton.
I'm Dan. I am based out of San Francisco and one of the co-founders of Ascend Real Estate.
I'm Jeff Rosa of Market Real Estate, and I'm in San Diego.
I'm Anthony Margulis with Amalfi Estates, and we're in Pacific Palisades.
Awesome. Great. Thank you guys all for joining. So, I had this idea of just talking about something that's really close to my heart and a lot of stuff, a lot of feelings that I had throughout going through the process of transitioning and change. Nobody likes change. And what I want to learn more about is from you guys is your experience of having any type of fear in having this change, going from where your current business is to a new partnering with new type of brokerage. It's not an easy decision, and it requires a huge leap of faith. And I'm sure that you guys had some concerns and fears as well. So I wanted you guys to share with me a little bit more about kind of your experience, what you experienced partnering with Side from pre-Side to post-Side, and just kind of talk through that.
So when signing up to do this Zoom call with all of you guys, I was told that I was one of the most senior members of this group. When we joined, we ended up being the 9th team member. No one had ever heard of Side before. So it was definitely a big leap of faith, lots of concern. And the other concern was that we had just joined a new brokerage just 4 months ahead of time. So it took us a while, about 4 months, to get on board. And we kind of went into that first meeting kicking and screaming. We got pulled along by the recruiter at that time. But after taking that first meeting with Side, it was mind-blowing how different it was from where we were.
Now, that first meeting, was that the first meeting with the ambassador, or was that the discovery day? When you mean by first meeting?
At that time, we sat down it was probably what would today be considered a discovery day. Okay. At that time, though, it was the first meeting.
Got it. Kicking and screaming. Why were you kicking and screaming?
We had just joined a different company about 4 months ahead of time, so we were not looking to make any changes at that moment. But we had started. The ambassador has started reaching out to us.
Discovery Day, if people don't know, is basically a meeting in which Side kind of shows you the behind the scenes, a tech stack, all the offerings that Side the offers. That's so much different than what's out there in the brokerage community. But did any of you guys have that similar fear prior to that first meeting?
So I don't like taking meetings with anybody. And I was an independent, so I owned my own company for 10 plus years as a broker. And the ambassador reached out to me, and it sounded pretty appealing. And so we actually scheduled a meeting in San Diego, and it was a Friday, and about an hour before, I'm like, I don't even want to go to this thing, like, at all. Like, what is my ticket out of here? Because the status quo was definitely working, right? And you're comfortable in the status quo. And there is that leap of faith that you don't have to take. So I went to that first meeting, and like, nobody had ever asked me about like my business and what I wanted and what I was good at and what I was looking for. So it was an hour of getting to talk about me, and it was kind of, no one had ever asked me about what I was looking to do. So that was a very comfortable first meeting that then led to a discovery day. But the biggest apprehension was change, right? Like, the status quo is definitely working, and you're getting pulled in a million different directions in this business as it is. So it was a leap of faith to even go take that meeting and then see how different, partnering with Side could be.
Yeah, and Jeffy, I mean, you're on track to hit your goal of what is like 40 million this year, and through COVID, and I think everyone here, I can say, I looked at all your numbers, and it's not like you guys are all new agents, right? These are all agents that actually had a running business. To be able to take that business, jump to something brand new, and partner with Side, it's a huge leap of faith.
Yeah, I'll have to say my experience was probably, I was a little bit like Jeff, where I was kicking and screaming a little bit. Katie's laughing because Katie was ahead of me on this whole idea of Side and partnering and creating our own brand. I didn't know anything about it. I was busy, working, at another brokerage on my business. She called me on my birthday, and claimed this was her birthday present to me, which, by the way, thank you, Katie. It's a great birthday present. The only reason I even listened to what she had to say was because it was Katie. I love Katie, and normally the answer is no. So I gave her a soft no. She, after talking to Wendy, I agreed to just at least go into the discovery day, and what they frame it around lunch, so they feed you, and I'm like, that's great. I'll just get a chance to go into the city and have fun with Katie, have a free lunch, and if that's it, then that's good enough. And instead, we drove home together and literally just looked at each other, and I was in awe. I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad that you made me do this, because I'm blown away at how different it is from any other brokerage and what they offer. Like Jeff said, it's about our brand. It's not about theirs. And it's about growing our business. And for the first time ever in doing any real estate, I actually thought it was possible to create my own team and run my own business the way that I wanted to. And would have never had the opportunity to do that without partnering with Side. So I was pretty much in that day. I think we agreed on that day that this was what we wanted to do.
Yeah, it's always hard to make change. I've been in the business almost 20 years, and I've worked at several companies. And my previous company that I loved was a startup, and in the sense of it was very innovative and different at that time. And I actually talked to Side. Wendy Davis called me, and I knew her from her title days, and out of a courtesy to her, and I always loved her. And she specifically mentioned that another agent who I love asked her to call me. And this is when there were only 3 partners. And so I met with them almost 4 years ago, and was really blown away by all of the things they were saying. But at that point, a lot of it was conceptual. It wasn't actually happening. It was the dream of the app and all the things that could be done. And it just wasn't the right time for me. I was part of my previous company had been sold, so I was part of the acquisition team, and it just really wasn't the right time to leave. But I always watched and saw what was happening, and the agents that left several other companies that I really respect to partner with Side. And when the time was right for me, there were a couple of partners that had left their previous brokerages, and I was like, wow, I just kept continuing to be blown away and be so excited about what Side was doing. And when the timing was right for me, I was very close to going to another company, and I saw Michelle Kim. She showed one of my listings, and I know she was, I think, the first partner at Side. And I asked her, are you happy? And she said, it has changed my life. I am delighted. And within an hour, Wendy Davis was calling me, and here we are. But what was so fun for me was to see how the dream and the conversation and it was going to be, to see it actually in real time in the reality. And it's always innovating and always changing. And that is so exciting to me. And, my husband looks at me all the time. I included him in all of our discovery days, because I had 2 versions, version 1 and version 2. And he looks at me constantly, especially during COVID, and says, oh my gosh, can you imagine if you had made that other choice? And so I'm very grateful to partner with Side. And I think what we offer and the agents that have come on board, it really is the best of the best. It really is.
Yeah, and speaking of timing, I mean, first of all, I remember meeting with Guy, and I met Guy the first time is actually through, my wife was at a party and met Ed. And Ed said, "Oh, what does your husband do? What do you do? What does your husband do?" He's a realtor. "Oh, I'm in a tech startup." And that's how I met them. And then Ed and Guy pitched me. And this is, early on. And I was like, these guys, there's no way that you can operate a brokerage without an office. There's no way that you could do this. I thought, what are these guys smoking? There's no way. And so I kind of passed it off. And of course, as I saw more and more people kind of starting to adopt and coming on board and seeing a little bit more traction, it's like, oh my gosh, there's something here. I mean, going to your comment, Michelle, about time, that's one of my first things that I wanted to ask you guys is, how many of you had also felt like it was like any fear in terms of the right timing to make the move?
There's always fear in change. And I think for me, thanks to Jen, who introduced me to Wendy Inside, I'm so grateful. I think for me, I was desperate for a change, whereas my partner, who's also, my husband, who's in my business as well, he was more resistant to it. And the fear was, why shake up something when it's already working? Mm-hmm. For me, it was like, I need to shake it up so I can take it to the next level. With the first discovery day, I sat in my car. I remember I called my director of operations and I'm like, I found the place. And my husband sitting in the car with me tells me to be quiet, drive home. We're not moving anywhere. And then we had further discussions with Wendy, and one of the management team actually came to meet with us to alleviate the fears. I think the biggest fear for, at the back of my mind and for my husband was, is it going to be the same spin in a different way? Because we have been through a couple of brokerages, and every time it's a rosy picture. And then when you get into it, it's like, really, why did I move? It's the same thing. So that was one of the biggest fears was, is this going to be a spin of the same thing? Thankfully, it turned out to be really great.
Yeah, Rama, has the change affected your production? I mean, that kind of jump?
In the positive way, yes. I actually did, yes, in a big positive way. Believe it or not, I was not banking on my company's brand. I always focused on my own brand. And so I knew that the business that I generate is all with my own branding. And so for me, the switch for the brand wasn't that different. But when I launched Asante and I reached out to all my past clients, I reached out on Facebook, I got nothing but a tremendous amount of encouragement from my past clients. And that was also one of my fears that, I was now with a big box brokerage and now I'm on my own. How are they going to perceive it? But almost 100% across the board, they were extremely supportive. And my business, due to COVID, we were thinking, well, we'll be lucky if we hit 60 million, and I'd done 80 million last year. I'm already crossed 80 million, and I'm hoping to cross the 100 by the end of the year.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I'm coming at it from a totally different direction. I'm the East Coast guy. When I was introduced to Side was not even licensed in Florida. The East Coast traditionally is not a very progressive, tech savvy kind of marketplace. But I was a boutique owner prior for about 20 plus years, and I knew the boutique brokerage model was broken. I knew something needed to change. I was actively searching for that something. And when I did fly out and had my discovery day in San Francisco, I kept on asking questions and kept on hearing the answers I was dreaming that someone would give me the answers for. So it was more like, it's so hard to believe this is true. And that was my biggest fear up front, was like, how can this all be lined up so perfectly to my needs? Because I'm the one who's feeling the pressure points day to day as a boutique broker owner.
Did you feel like you were being, feeling like you were being sold a bag of goods in a way? Like you think that this could all be a scam, or it's completely just...
It wasn't that it was a scam. Again, it was just, it's such a completely different mindset. So the East Coast real estate mindset is like, we've been doing this 30, 40 years. It'll work itself out. And the Side mindset was like, show us a problem. Let's find a solution and get on to the next problem. Let's keep on making it better. There's no finish line. And it was just so foreign to hear that kind of mindset, and so refreshing. And as I got to know the principals and the people behind the scenes involved, I remember, like Rama said, I came out of Discovery Day, I walked outside in the street and I called my wife and I said, I found home. I'm like, I can't believe what this is all about here. Like, I'm so excited to go to the next step with this group.
Awesome. Anyone else have a perfect timing of a move?
Mine was the worst timing, I felt like. That's why I was so resistant, was I felt like I don't want to take any meetings. I don't want to talk to any other brokerages. There was a lot of shifting going on. I am on track to have my best year by a lot, and I don't want to do anything to disrupt that. And the idea of, a broker change in our normal broker change world was scary enough, but the idea of trying to build, partner with Side and build our own brand and find out a name and like the structure and, all of the stuff that goes into it was very daunting. And I thought it was going to be a very big distraction to my business. And so I was a very, very hard no. And literally after learning what Side helps you create, it was scary, but very easy to say yes. And then I ended up, I think it was April. So kind of like, I thought I was going to have a great year. I ended up going from on average about 20 million a year. And then last year, when the year we launched, I ended up doing almost 40 million. So I nearly doubled it. This year with COVID, I'm a little bit off track, but not much. And we've grown our team from 4 to 8 in a year. And it's been actually mind blowing that we own a team now, and it's kind of something I never thought we would have.
Having a team and knowing that you can actually build a team big or small. I mean, I think we have partners that have, over a dozen team members, and we have partners that only have one, and they're both high producing, and you be able to create your own team. Side's brokerage model is just different, right? It's just different. I mean, it's centered around us as agents versus centered around the brokerage. Did any of you guys struggle with any fears around that traditional model versus this new partnering with Side model? Gina, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I would say that I struggled with a little bit, but I think mostly because I was afraid of not having a big name behind me. Although I never marketed my company, I had been with the same company my entire career, and I really just focused on branding myself and not the company anyway. So I'm not sure why I had so much fear around it, but I did, thinking that people would say, what's Elation? That's little, and they have no backing, and they can't compete with the big companies. And so that was certainly a fear of mine. Regardless, I was planning on doing this, whether it was just opening my own boutique brokerage without partnering with Side, because I didn't even know that anything even existed like Side. So I was even resistant going to that first meeting in San Francisco, and was quite blown away by what they provided, and thought, well, this is the best of both worlds for me, because, I'm in sales. I'm not necessarily trying to build a big company. I like to work with buyers and sellers every day. And I knew that if I really, really did this on my own and hadn't partnered with Side, then I'd be focused on that kind of work instead of being able to continue to focus on my own clients. And that's a huge, huge win for me, because it didn't take me away from what I love doing. So I'm past the fear. Like Rama, I had an overwhelming amount of support. When I announced it on Facebook and in my e-newsletter, the responses and the people reaching out to me, calling and texting and writing notes, it was just so beautiful and overwhelming. And I just received it with such love, because it felt so good to be so supported by my community, by my clients. So it was really quite a neat experience for me.
Yeah, and how's your production now this year?
Pretty much the same. I'm on track. I think I'm around maybe 40 million right now. I'm not really sure. I should be looking at my numbers more, but I'm not off from last year. Although last year I was off from the year before. So I had my biggest year, I think 2 years ago. So I'm down from that year.
Really encouraging during a pandemic that and with the change to a new company that, you know, you don't really skip a beat and your business just keeps on going. And I feel like the big box brokerages, that's what they say. They say, oh, we have a bigger name, and you know, who is Elation, or who is, you know, Rainmaker, or who is that? But ultimately we know that because we're top producers, that the name is us, right? And so there's a lot of street cred there that some ABC company that doesn't have that street credibility has more of a challenge to do.
You nailed it when you said street cred, and I think that was certainly the fear part of, well, nobody even knows this name, so why would they ever call me to list their home? And that didn't happen. Well, at least not that I'm aware of.
I wanted to just piggyback off of kind of what Gina was saying and the question that you asked about the fears of just kind of the big box or larger company. And for me, the fear with partnering was I've been with a larger company, larger brand, my entire career as well. And I was very concerned about leaving that corporate structure and corporate support. And are we going to have trainings? And are we going to have legal seminars? And are we going to have a network that we can access? And because I was so used to that, you know, what do I do if we have multiple open houses, when we had open houses, on the weekends? How do we tap into our resources? And Jen and I talked about that a lot. And I think that was a larger barrier for me. I came from a brokerage where I had a manager who was very supportive and very integral every day. And it was a mindset shift that I had to go through in terms of kind of becoming, you know, a true business owner and acknowledging that I am the driver behind my business and behind my success, which was awesome and empowering. But at the same time, in the truest, most genuine way in the last year, have never felt more not alone as a partner with Side. I can't even believe or begin to give the examples of the ways that you kind of feel, well, I don't have an office to go to. I'm going to be out on an island. And it could not be further from the truth. The resources, the support, the abundance. I put out a message the other day asking about something, and within minutes I had phone calls from different partners offering to share templates, offering to give me their best practices. And you are working with the best of the best. And to me, that has just been one of the greatest gifts. It was a huge fear, and it had just got squelched very, very quickly as soon as we partnered with Side.
I remember when the pandemic first started, and I was like, okay, I just switched over. I'm on my own little island now, like I was before when I was in India a long time ago, but I wasn't. I mean, there were like Zoom calls every day on something.
Exactly, like new technology. Hey, we want to inform you about this. We want to inform you about this. Jen and I felt that it was so easy for us to pivot and adapt and really be able to serve our clients to the highest level with all of the tools and support we were given initially. It was phenomenal. The response was phenomenal.
Awesome. Michael, Anthony, what fears did you two have in terms of this process?
You know, I wanted this. I was sitting here thinking I didn't have any fear, but I took myself back because with me, honesty tends to be, you know, the best way to move forward. And I don't know who this will speak to, but you know, I was the golden boy at a boutique brokerage. I got the handoff on every come list me call to a guy that didn't want to list homes anymore. And then I would just hit the ground running with content. And I loved going into the office and the attention that came with that and the momentum I could get in my day. And by seeing my name up on the board multiple times and the competition, the way that just triggered more calls and more activity and leads, you know, internet leads, and the handoff was incredible. So when I met Alice Pock, the director of relations in Las Vegas at an Inman conference, little sub party going on with Homelight, I was like, no, I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And my wife was the one that had my ear. She's like, you need to talk to this lady. And you talk about best timing and resisting and the worst timing. To me, it seemed like the worst timing. but it turned out to be the very best timing, because little did I know that as I booked my plane ticket to San Francisco to go meet with Guy Gal and do the Discovery Day, the company owner, the president, he was shopping his business to sell it and to fold it into a larger corporate conglomerate. And right as I touched into the world of Side and met with Guy Gal and sat down with Alice Pock and the other incredible people there at Side, it all shifted for me. And I realized I was going to have to sacrifice that which kind of built up my ego and made life fun and free for me, to shift into actually running a business if I wanted to do this long term. And it was made easy by feeling the environment. When I walked in, I got a world famous Guy Gal hug, and I knew I was home. I knew I was home. We started talking about content creating, his experience meeting one of my heroes, Gary Vee, and it just solidified for me. And then I just kind of gamified it, and it was a big step. And for me personally, it was scary, because I had to start like maintaining a database, and I had to start purchasing leads, and I had to have the faith that people on my team wanted to come with me and that others would want to onboard. And Sides made all of that so easy, from the launching of the website to my brand, my material, what I take with me on listing appointments. They fought me a little bit on my logo, but that was the one thing I brought to the table I was confident in besides myself. And it was amazing. And I'm so grateful now, and I'm still growing. I'm still pushing through growing pains as a young man who has to learn how to leverage more than just exuberance and excitement for the Palm Springs lifestyle and for selling homes. And I'm having to get down in the dirt and prospect and call my past solds, and coming into launching my own office. And then the COVID environment, it was like, oh man, what's going to happen to us? And there were days of fear, and the environment and the support. I learned to leverage my business manager, which I get through Side. I didn't take direction before. And so I didn't have accountability before. It was like, I'm selling stuff. I'm in a hot market. I've never been punched in the face by a down market, And for me, I made a commitment to this brand, to my team, to accountability with my business manager. And I feel like I'm slowly earning my place at the table with the Side family, because there's some incredible agents that have partnered with Side, and I'm honored to be here, and I'm in it for the long haul. Like, I'm here. This is what you look back at when you start a business. I've watched others do it. I've watched my father do it, and you go through these adjustments and these growth periods. So I'm grateful to have the opportunity to even contribute to something like this today, because there's some really powerful people on the screen today. It's awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anthony, how about you?
Thank you, Alex. Well, I'm honored to be included with this group. You have some amazing people. I don't try and operate out of fear. I think of things as concerns. Fear just puts me in a different place. So concerns, it's interesting. I mean, I was an independent for 30 years, close to 30 years. So it's always harder for an independent to, I think, see the advantages of Side as opposed to someone who's with a big box brokerage. We'd already built our brand. By all definitions, we were successful. I really liked the idea that Side had of partnering with the top agents in the industry and really taking the non-selling side off the plate. And I thought that was just a really unique concept. I've been to a lot of conferences, and the majority of the time, the average age at some of the non-Side conferences is significantly older. I'm probably one of the younger ones when I go to these other conferences. And I go to the Side conference, and the average age seems to be about 30, and they're into technology, and they have energy, and they have amazing ideas, and it's just, you're surrounded by so many amazing people. It's like the best of the best. And what I thought was really interesting, I don't think Side knew what they were creating, because the 7 main reasons I'm getting out of Side, none of them were pitched at the main day. And those were, recruitment has been amazing. I had no idea that Side had the benefits they did for recruitment. We're growing our team to 25 agents, and they've been a huge integral part of that. The retention has been amazing. I have agents on my team. I have one agent who's 30 under 30 at NAR. She's on track to do $50 million herself this year. I have another agent on track to do 30 million herself. And I know for a fact they would not be on my team and our company if it wasn't for Side, because of what they have to offer. Having Spencer, the Southern California broker, help with legal and contracts, that wasn't, pitched as a benefit as much. Mitch has been amazing, our business rep. It's almost like having an informal board of directors, which has been fantastic. They introduced us to Zillow Flex, which has been absolutely amazing. That introduction has been great. They introduced us to HomeLight, and then getting referrals. We never had referrals as an independent. So I'm a big fan, and I'm going to tell everyone about it. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Thanks. I know I hear, can't remember who taught me the acronym for FEAR, but I feel like it was Tupac Shakur, the rapper, was a false evidence appearing real, right? And so, I mean, that fear is, I definitely don't operate the same way. We do not operate out of fear. I tell my clients the same thing. And that's just a great way to live your life and run your business. Michelle, I know you might gotta want to check in with you, Michelle, about your experience and fears that you felt during this process.
I was with a independent, not very innovative brokerage before, so the technology didn't make me afraid. It excited me, and again, seeing it from just when they were talking about it to what it was, how it was actually happening. So I didn't have a lot of fear about that. I had a little bit of fear about just the back end. I'm very detail oriented. I was part of the management of my previous company. What was the E&O like? Who were the risk managers? I met Hillary on my very first discovery day almost 4 years ago, and I was very impressed by her. But fear went away because they, our risk managers are the same risk managers that we used to use at my previous company, who I really respect, and they're amazing. And the resources of Hillary and Spencer and Casey, and just the responsiveness, I didn't have a lot of fear. My biggest fear, honestly, in joining was leaving my previous company and sort of really destroying those relationships. But they were all so happy for me, and they were all like, it makes the most sense for you. It really does, for you to start your own company and launch your own brand and partner with Side. So, my biggest fear was telling my previous team that I was going to be leaving, but they were all really happy for me, and that really meant a lot. And it said a lot about Side and what they're doing.
You feel the relationships changed once you left the company, if you guys are at different companies?
No, I'm still doing some co-listings with one of my previous partners, because I was a forced silent partner in my previous company. We're doing some co-listings together, and they're at a large brokerage. We still love working together. Not at all. I mean, I think, my previous team, the management team, they're really excited about what Side is doing, honestly. People are really encouraged, and I had a little bit of fear about my clients being like, what's Bay Real Estate Group, whose Side? But honestly, I haven't lost a single client. Clients really today are wanting to work with you, and all the technologies and all the support and all the marketing that we get from our partnership with Side is just a bonus to them. And I think they're really impressed by it, especially in the Bay Area. The fact that it's something different and something unique, really speaks to our community here of buyers and sellers.
Michelle, I know you got to go, right? You have a...
I'm so sorry, but I really appreciate being included in this. And I'm really I'm always impressed, by the people I've met that I continue to meet at Side, whether it's partners, associates, staff. It's really encouraging to see something that's growing, especially during COVID. The traditional brokerage model, in my opinion, is broken. And most of them are downsizing pretty drastically, and we are growing, and it's only going to get better.
Amen.
Love it.
Thanks, Michelle. I want to shift gears a little bit, guys. So yesterday I had a call and with an agent. She's calling me about one of my listings, and she said, "Oh, Alex, it's great. I've been following your content, and I really enjoy what you're doing." And so we started talking, and I asked her, and she saw that I recently partnered with Side. She saw that I partnered with Side and asked me, am I happy? And I said, yeah, I'm totally happy. And I asked her, are you looking for a change? And she said, you know what, Alex, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said for sure. But I just started becoming an investor in the company. I have a contract with the team leader, and so she has some sort of ownership of some sort. And so, you guys, I know Dan, you can probably chime in on this as well. Can you guys chime in a little bit about contracts and I don't know, equity in a previous company or anything like that can create some fear in terms of making a move to partner with Side?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. Because we were at a big box broker before. We had contractual obligations if we left early. So that was definitely kind of off of our previous conversation about concerns was, what do the numbers look like? And when we spoke to Guy and we really kind of sat down and went through the numbers as to what we were doing, what we were producing, where we were, and what our hopes were to where we would be, we really looked at it as, we could be an investor in the company where we are, or we could be investing in ourselves. And it's, where do you want to gamble on? Would you gamble on that company that you never get to see the owners of, or the company that you are the owner? And it was hard. It was a big concern because, there was definitely, money transactions involved in order to make that switch.
That applied to me as well. And it was just, having some sort of agreement and then knowing that I felt like I was losing money because I had already invested money into the previous company. But then at some point, it's sunk cost. You've already spent the money, right? And so now what is it looking forward? Do you want to, like you said, Dan, exactly, invest in someone else's company, another company, or invest in yourself? So.
And for us, we were looking, we had only been there for several months and we were already seeing a lull in our business and we knew we had to shake it up if we wanted to get back to where we wanted to be. And so I really offered that.
For me, if I can speak on that, I wasn't in any kind of contract per se, but it was something that I was a little bit concerned about was, well, what costs does my current broker pay for that I would now be responsible for? I love spreadsheets. I created a whole model. This is what I'm making right now on my average sales and commissions. And, this is kind of what I'm paying for in splits, or this is what I'm paying for outside support. And when you realize how much you gain from Side and being partnered with them, a lot of these costs are absorbed through the partnership with Side. So there's not a lot of out of pocket. When I was sitting in Discovery Day, I'm maybe glass half empty, but I flipped my piece of paper over and I started to write down everything that I thought was going to be a hurdle in my mind to joining. And at the end of Discovery Day, I think I had 2 things listed. One was office space, which now seems silly with COVID. But at the time, that was a big deal to me. How much does it cost? Where are we going to find an office? We have to sign a contract with a lease manager or something like that. I don't know anything about that. What I found then is it's actually, and this is pre-COVID, there's tons of places to go and they're not that expensive. There's lots of different types of spaces that you can rent in and join. Now with COVID, we walked away from our office because we just weren't able to use it. So that was one thing that I was concerned about. The other one was the networking and what types of things I would have to pay for. And literally I ended up canceling subscriptions of things that I bought to support my business after joining Side because I was getting it from Side. So I'm not going to pay extra. Anywhere from a simple DocuSign membership to a coaching or like a database, the way the email exchanges and messaging through your clients. That's all something that's provided now. So it was kind of nice to be able to start canceling some of those costs, to be honest.
So you had a fear that you would have more expenses, but you ended up actually having more savings.
Right.
Side.
I'm really glad that Jennifer brought that up, because it's not even something I thought that we would talk about on this. But I just wanted to share that in 2019, I paid my brokerage $180,000. That was their share of my commissions. And starting your own brokerage, you wonder, how expensive it's going to be. And I am so shocked how far ahead of the game I am, owning my own company, having expenses such as an office space that I never had before, all of that, yet I am still so far ahead of where I was building someone else's brand. And for that, boy, that is so enormous to me.
Yeah, it's like night and day sometimes if you look back, but prior to joining, prior to partnering, it was hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
So this discovery day, so we take a first meeting, and the first meeting is them talking to the ambassador, coffee meeting, something like that, right? And then after that, we get, we have an opportunity to go to HQ in San Francisco and learn all more about the behind the scenes of what Side's about. Do you guys feel the information that you got from Discovery Day, was it too much, too little, overwhelming, not enough? I see Katie smiling right now.
I may or may not have cried at Discovery Day. I thought the information was on point. I thought it was exciting. I thought it was engaging. And again, for me, the entire tone consistently was, we are here to champion you. We are here to give you support. We are here to make you do what you do best, which is build relationships and support your community and support your clients. And that was so strong in every example that we received, every presentation we received. It just hit me really hard. There were a couple specific pieces that when we saw how some of the different technologies worked and integrated, that was when there was a tear. Jen was like, "Are you crying?" And I was like, "Maybe." It was kind of a lot to digest and to think about and talk about, but I thought it was a great opportunity. I loved all of it.
I think it's one of those things where it very quickly converts you from fear or concern instantly to excitement, because we learned so much about what we thought was going to be the potential of what we could do when we partnered with Side. And we were like all the way home, because we were like, could this really work? Could we really actually partner together, partner with Side, and create our own brand and have it be successful? And it's something I didn't even think I wanted before. And now it was just instant excitement. So I thought that was kind of it just turns the tone around. Lunch was good too. I mean, they really put on a nice lunch for us.
So when I went for my Discovery Day, I actually wanted to know more. Coming from a place of mistrust, I was like, whatever you're showing me is something that in my heart, I'm thinking, I want this. I've been searching for this. I interviewed with other brokerages that, shout from the roofs that they've got the best technology. And then when you actually go meet with them, like, really? I already have that. What's so great about this? Or what's so proprietary about it? So I, on the other hand, kept on asking more and more questions for which I didn't get the answers at that time. Because obviously, Side was trying to bring me over, and they're not going to lay out the whole book in front of me. But whatever they showed me, in my mind, I was thinking, if this is true, then my life is going to change. And thankfully it did.
How about you, Jeff?
My Discovery Day, the thing I remember most about is all right, I'm still hesitant going in there. I met with my recruiter beforehand, and then we walked over. But I remember, again, I'm an independent person, have owned my own company for 10 plus years, head down. I don't know what's out there and I don't concern myself with it. I'm just trying to do my day to day. The funny thing, like I was literally doing some DocuSign stuff, trying to get some contracts signed. And then one of the first things I looked at when going into this meeting was the app and how, oh yeah, this all gets done for you. Because Side talks about saving time. And I'm like, I literally just wasted an hour of my time doing this. And you're sitting here saying that time, you get that back in your hands. And so, I mean, the things they showed us about how we're going to save time, be more efficient, be able to focus on what we want to focus on. And everybody there is just like unbelievably positive. And again, not having ever been in a big box operation, this teamwork atmosphere, the energy there, the youth, like Anthony was saying earlier, I walked out of there like stunned, and you couldn't help but be tremendously optimistic about what things could be like going forward with Side. And that's for me coming from somebody who, again, has their head down, just grinds day to day and, doesn't look forward. And one last thing is, before that meeting, I'd spent the last like 6 months prior to that discovery day, like website issues that I've had and trying to chase things down and not wanting to be, there's a guy that comes to my mind, rest his soul, who was, an older gentleman, had been in the business for 50 years, still faxing, still using the mail. And I just don't want to be that person 5 years from now, and I felt like there's all this out there that I don't even know about. And, you just walk away with tremendous excitement because now you know about all these things. And not only are you, a part of all this great technology and forward movement, but you're ahead of it. You're in the leadership. Whereas as an independent, you're waiting for word of mouth and seeing whatever somebody else is doing to say, oh, what's that? And then you got to go research it by yourself. There's just questions you didn't know you had answered and game plans laid out, and tremendous excitement when you walk away from that.
And you almost have the best of both worlds, right? Because I was in indie before I joined Big Box, and I was on my own little island. And then Big Box, you have a lot of information, a lot of networking, but now you got kind of both, right? You got ownership in terms of your own brand. And at the same time, we've got all this, getting a referral for someone, let's say in San Diego, right? Or someone in Palm Springs or something like that. I just got to hop on. If I didn't know Michael, we hop on to a workplace and just boom, I got a referral. And that the power of the network is huge.
That came true this morning, right? Like networking with Dan over here this morning. So that referral business you never had, that network you never had, that teamwork you never had as an independent. And one thing I will tell anybody who is working for a big box operation right now, having been independent for so long, is rarely do I ever walk into an appointment and say, well, I've never heard of your company. But then you ask that question, well, like, what company did your last real estate agent work for when you bought this house? They couldn't tell you. They possibly remember that agent's name, but they have no idea who they worked for. And so, to think we're sitting here today having a conversation about the fear of being independent and using your own brand to leverage and create business for yourself, that's an argument that I heard 15 years ago when I went, and completely did my own thing. I've never heard it. You don't hear that anymore. Or where is your office? I've had the line, my office is wherever you need me to meet you. Your living room, Starbucks, Zoom now, whatever it is. No business gets done sitting in an office. No relationships get built that way. It's out and about. So to have that fear, I understand that fear. But as somebody who, probably like yourself, Alex, that, dealt with that question a lot longer ago than currently, I would say, I don't think that's anything to fear at all.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think I was in a listing presentation last month and competing against 3 other agents. All 3 of the other agents are all with the same big box brokerage. And it's like, okay, well, the seller picked all 3 of them and then me. And so who's standing out, really? Who is standing out? And that was a fear I had. That was a fear that I had before joining, is that, I'm not going to, these guys, these big box brokerages have have a bigger name, have more information, but it's all not true.
I think that to me is what is so inspirational about the partnerships and the partners with Side, is that to walk into a situation where you're competing with 3 people who are all with the same brand. We are business owners, and to be able to reflect to our clients or prospects that we take our business seriously enough that we are putting ourselves at the forefront and committing to creating I just feel like it gives a lot of credibility that we are committed to this business. We are committed to success, and we believe in ourselves. And I think that is a very, very strong place to operate from. And I do agree that I have seen my confidence grow as a business owner through this partnership over the last year. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary in August. And when people ask me, oh, how's it been? One of the things I talk about the most is just the mental growth that I have had through the partnership. And I think that's a huge advantage that we all bring to the table.
I wanted to jump in on going back to Discovery Day, because I had a very different experience with the Discovery Day because we were very early on in Side's history. So it's definitely down to, they have a process for everything, and their Discovery Day definitely is a process now. But when we started, we had no idea what we were getting into. We thought it was just like another company trying to sell us something. We wanted to get Wendy Davis off her back to stop, calling us. So we went into this expecting like a half an hour presentation that we could then leave from. 2 or 3 hours later, we were sitting in that, and we were sitting down with Guy and Ed at the moment, at that time, who others may not have met, but you've probably seen him present now at some of the forums. And the sheer brilliance of the 2 of them sitting down and being able to go through and talk about what they were creating was incredible. And given that they only had 8 partners at that time, being able to point out to things that they were making misassumptions on, things that were incorrect, things that we thought they could make better. And as they're going, they're taking notes, they're making the changes in real time in front of us. And we talk about how the growth of our business is elevated through this, but just how open that they were to also growing and making sure everything is perfect, making sure that they were creating the best product for us as partners was also so refreshing. And they really were doing that in real time in front of us. So leaving that initial Discovery Day, thinking that we were going to just move on from that, we just opened up a whole can of worms now that we have to keep on going to the next Discovery Day and continue this conversation, because they really brought something different to the table.
It's so exciting and re-energizes us when our associates now come back to us and tell us how happy they are that they took the leap to come with us and with Side. And that feels great. But even more importantly, one of our associates who, does not as big of a business, has immediately had these ridiculously high listings, like 4.3 in Diablo. And then all of a sudden she says, well, I've got this other $2 million one I'm working on. And she literally said to Katie and I, it's because of my association with Arrive Inside that I got these listings. We, what we've built in our presentation, we don't talk a lot about Side because that's not what Side wants us to be doing anyway. But when we talk about technology and reach and targeting and all the things that they offer, clients are really excited by it. And one of our associates literally said, without that information, she did not think she was going to get the listings more than once, which we were like, that's amazing. I'm really finding that it's very interesting to our sellers to hear that you may not have heard of Side, but how it benefits the seller and you in selling is now we've got this big influx of buyers coming from San Francisco and the peninsula. And the way that we can address your house right away is through basically a click of a button, because we're networked with all these top agents in those particular areas. And I think that's pretty important to our sellers right now.
Amazing. Anthony, did you have any concerns, not fears, but concerns after your Discovery Day?
I've had a lot of companies approach me over the years about wanting to acquire or some type of partnership. So I've always been concerned with the company that I went with if they were going to be acquired by a bigger company, because that was always my concern. They gobble up each other, and then you kind of regret that decision. And so, I had long discussions with Guy about that, and reassuring that they won't be bought, and they really, they have so much integrity. It made me feel confident, but it was always a concern, a newer company, and what's their exit strategy? Are they going to sell to one of the bigger companies? In 20, almost 30 years of building my business up, then I'd have to, unravel and go with someone else. But they reassured me, and I see where it's growing, and I see their genuine commitment to their mission statement and to all the partners. And but that was one of my concerns.
Which is a startup, right? I mean, a well-funded startup, but the startup nonetheless.
Right.
How about technology, guys? Any concerns or fears in terms of technology?
Discovery Day, they introduce you to the technology. It's a little bit of introduction, but also a little bit education. And Dan, you touched upon this. They talked about, we have this little chat function where if you have an idea or if you have a request, you can add it in to the chat function, and our production team or our product team will work on it. And you kind of are like, yeah, right. Okay, sure. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, they literally are constantly evolving. They are taking feedback, criticism, critiques, suggestions, accolades, all of it from us in the field who are serving our clients, because it goes back to their number one goal, which is making our jobs easier so that we can go out and build relationships. And so for me, the technology, while it is a lot to adopt and it takes time to learn some new stuff if you're not familiar with it, but I think everything is very adoptable. They have training resources. If you are having a challenge with a particular piece of technology that they have affiliation with, I've reached out to my business manager and even Guy and said, who do I need to talk to about Copper? And Anthony was on this call, hopped on a Zoom for 45 minutes with Jen and I and walked us through Copper, gave us incredible best practices. And so again, there's always someone at your fingertips to help you if you need it.
The side app is amazing. My agents will jump in our group thread. We have a group thread that's off the chart for Elevate Palm Springs, and my agents will jump in there and be like, I just wrote an offer on a house in the parking lot of Walmart in the high desert. And I'm like, yeah, and it's awesome. Or I'll be negotiating with an agent trying to figure out how to craft an offer to just get it accepted. And she'll be like, wait, weren't you just driving a second ago? I'll be like, yeah, I pulled over. She'll be like, are you changing the offer on your phone? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it on my app right here. And she's like, well, what app are you using? I'm like, well, it's actually through my company. So, and the company that powers my brand, like, she's like, and, I'm like, okay, it's out for signatures. It'll be in your inbox in a hot minute. And that's huge. That's huge. And it does take a little time. Luckily, I have an assistant that's had to bear the brunt of learning, SkySlope and some of the stuff on the back end, but that side app is amazing. I still do AVIDs. I do all my agent visual walkthroughs right there. I just voice to text it, plug it in, and away it goes. So that's huge among so many other tools that we have that my business manager is slowly introducing into my wheelhouse.
That's great. Jeff, you had something to say too?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I had tremendous fear and concern of going forward with Outside, having learned about all this technology that exists and that they offer. So my only concern is if I'm stuck out here on my own and everyone else, the top of the top are using all these tools, and it's not just like technology, but I mean, being able to walk into a listing appointment with something that looks really legit versus my homemade Staples, designed listing packet, like huge concern that something else greater was out there and I'm not that person. And it's only that divide is only going to increase over time. And once you see what Side has to offer, there's nothing but, just excitement about what the future holds, in terms, and then being at the forefront of that technology constantly and not having to be the person thinking about what's out there next. It's already being thought of and delivered for you.
Let's be honest, these real estate companies touting themselves as technology companies, right? A lot of it's, everyone's using third-party software. And, Side is actually a technology company that just by chance sells real estate and, partners with partners like us. And the app itself, I test the app sometimes. I'm kind of bored, and on a weekend, on a Sunday morning at like 10 a.m., I'll message the app just to see if anyone will respond and how fast, and boom, response right away. So I've been very, very impressed with the app. Rama, you rejoined this year, and when you joined, like your process of vetting, Side and with this opportunity to partner with Side, did you talk to any current Side partners?
So like I said earlier, Jen is the one who, introduced me to Side because I reached out to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you started your own? And she goes, no, I partnered with Side. So that was my only vetting process because I didn't know of anybody else who was at Side, and neither did I make an attempt because I think, Jen being a local agent and we having a good friendship for many, many years, I think the word from her mouth was sufficient for me. So no, I didn't vet with anybody else.
Anyone else have any, prior to making a commitment, talk to any existing partners?
Yeah, I talked to a lot. So I just wanted to know what I was getting into. And, it was the usual that, look, it's a growing company, and sometimes, things on marketing may take a little bit longer, but they're working it out. But overall, everyone was so supportive. I think what really struck me was they really cared. So, the fact is, if someone really cares, they're going to fix the problems eventually. And if they're going through growing pains because it's a growing company, that's just something that is part for the course. So, but yeah, I talked to a lot of brokers, a couple on this call.
When we joined, I talked to all the San Francisco agents, which were all three of them. And that was about it. But since then, I've had many, many calls, maybe with people on this Zoom group. And if you're thinking about joining, feel free to call, because I think in the past week I've talked to two more, one up in Tahoe and another person somewhere else. So I get many of those calls still.
Donnie, how about you taking the step to stepping into broker manager role?
It was super exciting to have that opportunity to be the cornerstone of the Florida expansion. But again, it was did a lot of vetting, a lot of questioning existing partners, other people within the industry to kind of see, who was behind the scenes here. But just got nothing but green lights, and it's been a fantastic ride.
That's great. I want to take a poll. Kind of, where do you guys think most of the fear comes from if someone's considering partnering with Side? Is it prior to having that initial coffee meeting with the ambassador? Is it after the coffee meeting prior to Discovery Day? Or is it after Discovery Day to commitment and launch? Like that entire timeline process. Rama, go ahead.
So I think coming to the first conversation is the hardest, at least for me. It was like, because in your subconscious mind, the big box brokers that you work with kind of subconsciously instill that in your mind that you would be a nobody without them. So that's where the initial fear starts. And coming to the table, you're like, I've actually, talked to a couple of agents in my area, and they're desperate to get out of the situation they're in. But yet when you give them the opportunity, it's like, then the fear makes them retract. It's, I think it's that first initial reaction that, oh, maybe they're thinking, oh, I might get carried away and it won't turn out to be the way this person is saying. And I was also in that same mindset, it's too good to be true. Been there, done that. Mm-hmm. But I think once you get over that and open up your mind to see what's available and put those fears at the back of your mind and just just receive the information. I think that would make a huge difference. That made a difference for me too.
Who else? Timeline. What do you guys think in that timeline where the fear comes in? Jeff.
The commitment part is the biggest fear. Like, having been an independent, everything is working fine. I mean, side wouldn't be calling if things weren't going really well. So there's a little bit of that in the back of your mind too. It's humbling to be asked, but then knowing that you've been successful, and then, okay, it's time to commit and pull the trigger. We, in my household, we had a lot of thought and reflection of, hey, you've built something else. They know this. How are you going to flip the switch and, kind of have to start all over? So that's where my biggest moment of pause was, and, concern at that point in time. And to take that a step forward, I mean, I didn't miss a beat when everything switched over. I mean, I even got a few more inquiries about, hey, what happened to that other thing you used to have going on there? And other people just don't even recognize there is a change. So my biggest concern ended up being like zero concern at all. And like, I am so thankful that Side came calling. You think about a time when an independent could have been like, a pandemic is going on and I'm going to sit here as an independent and try and navigate my way through a real estate market where nobody knows what's happening, versus being connected with Side and all these other people who have been there, done that. They're entrepreneurial. To have that as a team backing behind you just gives you tremendous confidence, and the sky's the limit going forward with that.
Very well said. Ditto that.
I'll save you a little of my timeline, so it was very different. I was introduced to Side at a luxury conference in Beverly Hills, and it was a CEO panel, and it was two big box CEOs, your typical talking heads, giving the typical spiel they've been giving the same every conference everywhere, and Guy Gal. And he stood out, obviously, and I'm sitting there in the crowd going, I don't know who this gentleman is. I don't know what his company is, but I need to know more, because he is spot on to the exact problems I'm dealing with every single day. So I flew to San Francisco a week later, again, went through my discovery day, and I knew right there that this was a great fit, and I was willing to take the chance along with them. So I was ready to go right there, but they were like, wait, we got to build the app for Florida. We have to open up Florida first. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was immediate, just because of, I knew the pressure points from the brokerage standpoint.
Thanks, Donnie. Yeah, I know we're almost out of time, guys. Last thing, I'd like you guys just chime in one highlight of your partnership with Side up to this point, and or any advice to someone who's considering partnering with Side and may have some fear. And why don't we start with you, Katie?
I would say, for me, highlight is we were dealing with a legal issue with our office space. And Jen and I were like, what do we do? How do we handle this? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Just, this is out of our wheelhouse. And we received like the most unsolicited, out of nowhere, like it was like the Hunger Games where the little thing comes falling down out of the sky. It's the gift. And it was from Hillary, and it was just legal support that we needed. And it was nothing big. It was just, we're not lawyers. We're not pretending to be lawyers. And that to me was this moment where I was like, this would have never happened anywhere else. Like, they never would have proactively gone to step up for us, to support us, to make us feel like we've got an army behind us. So to me, that was a huge moment, to just feel that like, hey, we've got this, like, no problem. Yes, we may be this little small boutique firm, but we have the most amazing support network behind us. So that was a huge highlight. Again, going back to my comments of saying, I've never felt more not alone. And Side just continues to do that through the partnership.
Awesome. Gina, how about you?
I would say mine is pretty simple. I would say if you're considering partnering with Side, all you have to do is say yes, and they'll take care of all the rest. That's how it felt with me. And my business manager is such a rock star. I can't even believe how far we've come in such a short time. And I am so, so grateful. Every day I count my lucky stars that I partnered with Side.
Awesome. Dan, how about you?
I think one of the big highlights is just the mastermind and the information that I've seen grow in the side partnerships over the past 2 to 3 years. The wealth of information, experiences that every different partner brings to the table, and then being able to share that is just incredible to help you build your own business. And then as far as advice, if you're getting ready to jump in and work with Sai, the first couple months is a roller coaster of new information and just, looking at the world and your company and your business in a different aspect. And it's taken a bit of time, but I mean, we've seen our company just grow further than we ever thought it would.
Great. Rama.
So for a lot of people, and Jen's gonna laugh at this, for a lot of people who know me in the East Bay, I have no filter. So when I say something, trust me, I mean it from my heart, because I wouldn't say it otherwise. For me, being the top agent for the big brokerage that I was before, and getting zero support for all the money that I paid in, because the company could not understand where my business is going and where I need to go. And when I partnered with Side and I got my business manager and the whole team behind the support, I mean, I've said this to Guy over and over again, I cannot believe my luck that I landed up here. I've had a very difficult experience in the past, and it is so refreshing to see that a company is actually, investing in you and is vested in your success. So if you're thinking of moving and you're frustrated and fed up at the place where you're at, take this leap of faith. I promise you it won't go wrong.
Great. Thank you, Rama. Mr. Palm Springs.
I think that if you have Side, if you have the opportunity to have Side even in front of you, that's a huge thing to consider. And it's obviously got a big value proposition to a lot of people. And for me, the biggest thing is stepping out and starting something on my own, where they really did give me the power to say founder, and no one else was offering me that. They were offering me opportunities to go make them money. And now, I get to pass that same spirit and energy on to my team to power them to go out and be the best that they can be, and be cautious about who I bring on, because each individual will change the makeup of my business. And so right now we're family, and that's what I find comes from Side and partnering with them is I feel like family. I don't feel like I have to earn my seat at the table. I just feel like I belong. And that's amazing. I never had that going through any of the other brokerages I was with. I never had that. I would walk in the room and try to find my buoyancy level. And when Side is just present and you're there and you matter. And that's huge. I don't know where else I'd find that. I'm so grateful.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Donnie, how about you?
Yeah, my biggest direct benefit is just the team growth. I had really stopped accepting agents who want to come onto my brand. And it just was too much. It was inefficient. It was wasteful of time. It was taking me away from what I really wanted to do with my brand and my clients. I went from February from 8 to 19 agents. And it's amazing how Side will, attract the right agents. They will onboard them. They will train them. They will do all the transaction management for them. So it's taking no time off my plate. I'm getting better production in my brand, and my agents are happy because they're getting this great backup. So that's really been amazing to me to see it in practice firsthand. In terms of advice, what I tell anybody who calls me about thinking about taking the leap to partner with Side is really be honest with yourself, because this is such an amazing opportunity. Just you can see on our call, I mean, everybody's brand and our visions between Alex's and Michael's and Rama's, and everybody's vision is so different how you want to shape your brand. And this is very unique. Most brokerages, when you go with them, you kind of got to go along their channel. With Side, when you start in your launch, it's really about, well, Alex, how do you want to, shape this over the next 3 to 5 to 7 years? And we personalize everything along that partnership. And to me, that's so cool and amazing because, again, we're all going at our own speed. We're all going at our own growth patterns. We're all chasing our own dreams. And that's the biggest advice, is to be honest, to understand where you want to be, because Side can take you there.
That's great. Thanks, Nani. Jen.
The support that you get from every other agent that is partnered with Side is so valuable to us. You know, we can pick up the phone, we can call any partner at any time. Our business is so supported that it allows us to be confident. So I just found in the last year, you know, yes, I have a good, decent amount of volume. Yes, I feel like I can go talk to any seller. Not that I don't ever get nervous anymore, but it's just a different, completely different mindset now. We're able to walk in and talk to our clients because we know what we have behind us. We have a safety net. We have all of this support, all of these tools, all of these amazing people in our network that honestly, I walk in and I feel like, why wouldn't they work with us? And that to me has been kind of the biggest highlight of how just it makes me do a better job when I'm doing what I was doing before. Advice I would give to anyone is just open your mind to having the first meeting. Really, I think that is where my fear point was. I was very resistant to take the meeting. It very quickly turns from I'm afraid to go and listen to this to I'm afraid that if I don't do this, I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. That's a whole different kind of fear. But I really, Katie and I spent a long time talking to other partners in person, on the phone, through Zoom, and partners who didn't sugarcoat anything. You know, where are your pain points? Tell me what's negative about it. We heard a couple things we knew to watch out for, and you know, with a growing company, you're going to have some of those speed bumps, but they were all so minimal that it outweighed anything else. Our launch manager was absolutely incredible. Yeah, and I would just say, open your mind, give it 4 hours. I considered it a free lunch and a trip to the city, so it was a win-win for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. And last but not least, Jeff, any final thoughts?
I walked away, from joining Side, and the one thing I could take away with is like just this overwhelming positive atmosphere and positive outlook and team atmosphere that I don't think exists in this business anywhere else. And then if I were to give somebody advice, if you've been approached by Side, it's for a reason. And, it's worth taking the extra couple steps to pursue that because you were asked. And they're only looking for the best of the best, as far as I can tell, as evidenced by everybody on this call.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you guys so much. We're out of time, but I'd love to keep on going for the next couple of hours. We could probably continue with more and more. But thanks. I appreciate your time. And I look forward to meeting you all in person sometime soon.